thing. Make sure you're responding to the blue questions in the text. You can pause at any point throughout this recording. Highlight as you're reading as well. Make sure that you are focusing on how characters develop and point of view in which this story is told. So let's start it off. Sandwiched in Between by Eric Smith. It doesn't feel like the Thanksgiving season until I have a gobbler hoagie from Wawa clutched in my hands. Forget the autumn leaves, the brisk weather, or the occasional odd decorations. It's that hoagie, wrapped in crinkly white paper that quickly becomes translucent the longer the hot sandwich sits inside. It is a glorious mashup of the staples found at my family's Thanksgiving dinner table. Turkey, stuffing, gravy, cranberry sauce, all crammed within a roll that is totally unprepared for its glorious contents. It's like the bread goes into shock, just totally falling apart. The gobbler looks nothing like the advertisements plastered around Philadelphia, on buses, the SEPTA trains, on billboards. You're seriously going to eat that? Amina asks as we sit down on a bench in Rittenhouse Square, a fancy park that just beckons you to have a picnic in it. Lush gardens with stone barriers perfect for perching on top of, and a fountain so old it has a landmark sign on it. The mosaic tiles lining the bottom, glittering in the afternoon autumn sun. The square is bustling, the weather surprisingly warm. People are out and about with their dogs, and young couples with little toddling kids who dash after one another are laughing as they jet across large patches of grass. The sandwich is warm in my lap, the paper gone clear after walking several city blocks to get to the park from Broad Street. I unwrap it carefully, the contents precious, and glance over at Amina's plastic bag. You could have gotten one too, you know. I smile at her. I mean, who gets a salad at Wawa? I get the salads at Wawa, she playfully snaps, her nose crinkling in a way that drives me crazy. Her dark brown eyes flit down to the sandwich in my lap and back up at me, her winged eyeliner making her gaze feel even more penetrating. She smiles and my heart flutters. That paper is gross. How do you have the gravy on your jeans already? Look at your hand. She grabs my hand and then tosses it back at me like it's a filthy rag. It's sweaty from carrying a sandwich. I take a bite and audibly moan. The bread is soggy, but it's soggy with gravy, and the flavors just explode in my mouth. Sorry, I can't hear you over all this joy. You don't make any sense, Anima scoffs, taking her salad out of her bag. It's prepackaged neatly, and she peels off the plastic, mixing everything together. It's some kale and quinoa thing. She aggressively points at me with her plastic fork in an exaggerated way, to the point that her thick black curly hair jostles around her shoulders. You are literally having everything in that sandwich at your parents' house in like 5 hours, and at mine in 4. It gets me psyched. The sandwich is the hype man for Thanksgiving dinner. I take another bite and have to mentally force my body not to shudder. The sandwich is everything. A little kid hustles by us, chasing a tennis ball, his tiny hands outstretched in front of him the entire way. Besides, does your family even do Thanksgiving like this? The stuffing and all that? What? Of course, she says. She laughs. Are you expecting turkey moussaka or something? Grape leaves? No, Wait, what's moussaka? I ask, taking another bite of my sandwich. I glance back at Amina and she doesn't answer. And her face is turned up in worry, looking straight ahead. It's the kind of expression she gets during tests in pre-calc or when graded papers are getting passed out. Forward, eyes intense, mouth a straight line. Hey, I nudge her, and she shakes her head quickly, looking back to me, a soft smile back on her face. Where'd you go? Nowhere, she mutters. Nowhere, I just... She stops and exhales. You told them I'm coming, right? What? I scoff, of course. Right after we visit your place, pretty sure my mom would flip out if I brought surprise company. She takes Thanksgiving very seriously. Me and Amina had only been dating since September, just these past 3 months after a summer of flirting through Facebook Messenger and Instagram DMs. But I feel like I've known her forever. We've been in class together since freshman year at Central. So, maybe not forever, but 3 years most definitely. You know I can't wait for you to meet everyone, I continue, my heart feeling full. I talk about you like all the time. It's just. She puts her fork down and sets her salad aside. Look, Mike, I don't want to make this weird, but what is it? It's just, have you ever brought home someone like me? I shift around on the bench and look at her, and she stares down into her lap, which is significantly less gravy stained than mine. She's wearing tight black jeans and vintage boots that come up halfway between her knee and her foot. I reach out and take one of her hands, an array of bracelets jingling as I bring it closer to me, thick silver rings on several of her fingers. What do you mean, someone like you? I ask, running my fingers over the top of her hand. She pulls her hand away slowly and sighs. Michael, you know what I mean, she says, shaking her head. Look, I know your exes, okay? Becca, Anne, and your parents, your family, and all, they're sweet from everything you've told me, but, they're white, I say, nodding slowly at first and then a bit faster. They're white. This again? That's what this is about? I'm sorry, it's just I'm not white, I say. They don't have any problems with me at Thanksgiving or Easter or Christmas. Come on, that's not even remotely what I'm saying here, and you know that. She shifts around on the bench to look at me, and I realize we're not really sitting next to each other anymore, but across from each other. It's just, this feels silly, I mutter. We keep circling back to this. Why? Because we should talk about it, Amina presses. All your exes were white girls. This is new. She points at herself and at me. Do they know? It's not like I told them, hey, I'm dating Becca, she's a white girl, when I was seeing her. What's the difference now that I'm dating a brown girl? Did you warn your parents about me? I didn't have I didn't say you had to warn your parents. And no, I didn't, though maybe I should have. What's the difference between all that and saying I'm dating someone like me? They've seen photos of us. Like you. She starts and stops, taking a breath. The difference is that they were white girls and I am not. I'm not white either, I exclaim, heat brewing up in my chest. And my parents are the last people in the world who are going to be racist. Would they adopt some ambiguously brown Middle Eastern kid if they were racist? Heck, my sister is from Honduras. My family is like a Saturday morning television special, one of those old ones you can laugh at on YouTube in grainy washed out colors with some powerful lesson about acceptance. The more you know. I'm just saying, Amina says, getting up, and I can hear her patience fading. You should maybe tell. There is nothing to tell. We don't even see color in my family, you know. There's a beat, a bit of silence in the air as Amina glares at me. Wow. She breaks the quiet first. What? I ask. Nothing, she shrugs. It must be nice. Can we? I reach out and take her hand, but she shirks away from it. My chest tightens. Look, can we just drop this? I hate talking about this. It's the only thing we seem to fight about, and I don't want to fight. It's a privilege to be able to drop things like this in the first place, Amina says, sitting back on the bench. Not everyone can. Most people have to fight because of what they look like, who they are. She grabs the little plastic container with her barely eaten salad and closes it up, tossing it back in the Wawa bag. Wait, where? I start. I'm going to help my parents get things ready, she says, standing back up. Just come meet me at my house at like 4, and then we'll head to see your colorblind parents after. Oh, I'm sorry I messed up our lunch date. I reach out for her hands, and this time she takes one of mine. What do I say to make it better? I have no idea what to say to any of this. She reaches out and pats me on the face. You don't have to say anything. You just have to shut up and listen more often. Amina's family lives in the quiet Queen Village neighborhood of Philadelphia, where, smattered among the charming row houses, you can spot the occasional mansion tucked away in the brick. I've strolled by her home what feels like a dozen of times, walking her there from class or after we've gone out, coming back from the movies or rummaging for used books on Giovanni's Room, my favorite bookshop slash nonprofit thrift store. I look up at her house. Dark copper stars hammered into the front, like most older Philly homes. It's a wide row house, a dark red brick that casts a strong contrast to the lighter brick houses attached to it, with dark green shutters on the windows and a bright yellow door. They're empty now, but over the summer, the window boxes on the bottom two windows overflowed with bright wildflowers. That's how we started talking. Even after years of being in school together, after she saw me leaving comments on her Instagram photos of them. I keep trying to think of a more romantic story for how we met, but haven't quite come up with anything yet. I know there's a yard. The house has a thin iron gate off to the side and a rounded arch that breaks the seam between her house and her neighbor's. I can always make out a spot of green beyond the brick walled alley, but what it looks like inside the house with her family, no idea. I take a step up on the stoop and ring the doorbell, a soft chime echoing from someplace inside. And that's when I notice all the voices talking inside, blending together as footsteps sound off, making their way to the door. It swings open, and there's Amina. She smiles. "There you are," she says, motioning for me to come in. I lean in for a kiss, and she backs away quickly, looking into her house and then back at me. "What are you doing?" "None of that. No way. Get in here." I walk in, and the home is an explosion of color. Deep reds and golds are everywhere, and the air is heavy with delicious smells. Her family has furniture that doesn't look like it's been put together hastily after an IKEA visit. The extra pieces buried in a kitchen drawer. "I thought you told them about me," I ask as Amina hurries ahead of me, leading the way. Toward the back of the house is what looks like the kitchen, with a big sprawling table topped with piles of food. "I did. Not everyone can make out in front of their family." "I wasn't trying to," I start, but she looks back at me in a way that tells me the conversation is over. Fine, fine. Amina's family is already gathered around our kitchen table, which is this gorgeous piece of furniture. Everything in here feels older than me, and it's as though the sentimentality of every object is just pulsing in waves. There's history laced into every object, a cabinet with large glass doors full of little pieces of quiche, couches covered in sheets of plastic like they're too valuable to sit on, paintings on the wall that are actual paintings, not prints. "So, this is Michael," Amina says, and I turn back to the kitchen table and watch as several conversations in progress stop, multiple sets of eyes looking at me expectantly. "Hi," I say, waving awkwardly. There are two seats next to each other at a corner of the large dining table, and we walk over there. I sit, and the plate in front of me looks like it's seen some things. Old with a few chips here and there, a fading illustration of some birds in the center. They were my great-grandmother's. I glance back up at Amina's mother, I think, across the table, who nods at my plate and then looks around the table. We bring them out for holidays and family gatherings. I'm going to stop right here, guys. Please click on part 2, and we will pick up right here with That's Amazing.